Hello and welcome to episode 184 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. Joining me as always is the volatile League Freak. You can find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm going very well, Andrew. How are you today?
Not too bad. I
That's
got a message from you earlier,
hmm
and you sound like you're about to go off your fucking nut.
Yeah, I was.
The floor is yours.
Phil Gould doesn't know what he's talking about, and he needs to shut up because he went off his head in the last 48 hours over the obstruction rule in rugby league, and he's attacking the way that the rule is ruled upon. He's attacking the way that it is judged by the bunker, and how many times referees are going to have a look at obstruction in the play. Over the last 20 years, what Phil Gould believes is an obstruction has changed pretty much every single day. I've seen games where he has called obstruction on one play, and then in another play, he's pissed and moaned because it wasn't an obstruction in the same game. And I don't think he knows what obstruction is in his mind. It's just something he sees and he feels. You know, it's something that he feels in his balls or something. It's ridiculous that he's attacking the referees now because the obstruction rule has never been as clear in the whole history of the game. It is now written in black and white. It can be ruled upon really, really easily by the video referee. The referees are calling it really, really well for the most part. There are slight grey areas sometimes, but the fact remains that if you don't want a try taken off you, get the fuck out of the defensive line if you're an attacking player. If you haven't got the ball, you shouldn't be standing around in the defensive line. And I'm sick and fucking tired of hearing Phil Gould saying, well, that doesn't really count and that shouldn't matter. And I feel as though that should be trying, don't worry about the rules here and there. And that's not how it works. And I'm just sick of seeing it come up in the media again and again. He's always got a fucking problem with something in the game. He's never got a real solution. Like, he's not coming up with a real solution here. His solution is basically that Phil Gould is going to rule on every single obstruction call that has to come down to the video referee in an NRL game. That's not going to work. We got a rule book. It's working really well, and he's one of a handful of people that don't like it. The problem is he gets a fucking microphone in front of his face. Well, the good thing is, now people like you and me, Andrew, we've got fucking microphones too. And we can say that this rule that they've got in place now, which all 16 coaches agreed with, and which is really clear and really black and white, it's the best obstruction rule we've ever had in 120 plus years of rugby league. And I'm sick of seeing people like Phil Gould and other idiots in the media just using it as a talking point just to get clickbait bullshit out there. What do you think, Andrew?
No, I fully agree with you, mate. Phil Gould's been...
You're very quiet again.
Let's say Phil Gould's been pushing really hard to get rules changed quite a bit recently. And it's beyond boring now. It's become tedious. Like, it was 2 years ago when the referee said, you know what, we're going to clean up the ruck. We're going to get rid of this wrestle. This is what we're going to do. And over 10 weeks, they were cracking down so hard on it. There were some games with lots of penalties, but we were seeing cleaner ruck. We were seeing the biggest culprits being penalised out of games, and they either had to adapt and start playing clean or keep losing games that they would otherwise be winning.
Mm-hmm.
And just when we're at the precipice of things being fixed and everyone having to play good, clean footy, without this wrestling crap in there, Phil Gould and the other dinosaurs, Rothfield, Kent, all those morons, they all come out going, oh, there's too many penalties. This game is shit now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can fix the game in 5 minutes. Just call me. I think that was the Phil Gould line at the time.
It's funny too because they call him. They go out there and they say Phil Gould wants to add to the game. He's more than welcome. And he never does.
No, because he wants to be paid for it. That's what it comes down to. And even when you pressed him on Twitter when he said he didn't want to be paid for it, and going, well, if you don't want to be paid for it, you've got nothing to lose by saying it for free. Why don't you just say it? You say everything else. No, not giving away my solutions. Why not? Where's your spine, Gus? Where's your spine?
The thing is, like do you believe that the obstruction rulings
It's
that
fine.
they have now, it's fine. It's absolutely fine.
They've taken something which has been debated and fought over for years upon years, especially in recent time, and they've made it black and white, which is, let's be honest, that's bloody hard to do with a rule that can be pretty vaguely interpreted, and it has been for nearly a century. They've made it black and white, and they've even managed to get rid of that little bullshit thing that happened a few years back, where a player would stand near a decoy runner and then pull out the old, soccer dive.
Yep.
They've even got rid of that. They said, you know what? He made a defensive decision, or he did make a defensive decision. So you have to make that decision. You have to try and make that tackle. And if you don't, the bunker's going to say, I think he's milking it, play on. And I think right now, 2020, they've got the obstruction rule down pat.
Yeah.
I can't argue with any of the decisions they've made about it. There could be some where you could probably argue one way or the other, but that's not 100% certain that they've got it wrong, is it?
No.
There's still a bit in your mind that goes, yeah, you know what, I think they might have it right, and that's still good enough for me. Exactly.
And like this idea that like a non-ball runner, an attack and play that doesn't receive the ball, can interfere with the defender, right? And that defender might have got across and had an effect on a defensive play, and it's always to lead to a try. It's very rare that it's not for a try-scoring play. The defender should never, ever, ever have to worry about a non-ball playing or a non-ball runner interfering with them in any way. And that's what the current rule does. The current rule makes sure that if you're a line runner that is not going to receive the ball, you've got to go through the entire line. You can't stand around in the line. You can't loiter. You can't interfere with the defensive players at all. And that's been rugby league since day one. Rugby league was never intended for players without the ball to have a physical effect on defenders. You can use sleight of hand and stuff to make them make decisions that are wrong, but you can't physically, barrel players out the way.
Yeah, you can't impede them.
No, and you certainly can't do that. And then if you score in the corner, and when I say the corner, I'm talking like, you barrel a second rower out the way, or a halfback who is normally pretty wide themselves, and then get upset because your winger scored in the corner and the halfback might have got there. You don't know. No one knows. But that's not the defensive team's problem. That's the attacking team's problem. They broke the rules.
That's exactly right. No, mate, I'm with you 100% on this one. I don't know. I think Gus, this is the crazy thing about Gus and a lot of his morons who pine for what they claim to be the good old days. Back in my day, we had contested scrums. Yeah, you know what? They look like shit, and more often than not, they led to a penalty. So they were effectively pointless. They weren't a contest. So that's why we don't have contested scrums anymore. Stop asking for scrums to come back where you can push in the scrum or the hooker can rake in the scrum. No. They were an abomination. They just turned to an absolute mess, and they were risky. We don't need them being contested. They're just fine as they are. And then all this other stuff about, referees back in my day had a better feel for the game. That's his way of saying that, I don't know, maybe they didn't have a feel for the game. They just missed a lot of shit and no one complained about it.
Yeah.
That's all it was. I still argue to this day that referees today are getting more right calls than what they did in the past. The problem they've got is that they're not allowed to adjudicate on every incorrect play, whereas the refs in the past could. And when you had referees like Bill Harrigan would call like 3 penalties in a game, they talk about that being some great achievement. And it's not.
Well, the thing is, they'll say that referees in the past were decisive, okay? Well, now when referees are decisive, they attack them.
Yeah, they bitch and moan.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you can't have it both ways. And I don't know of any sport in the world where supposed expert commentators shriek, "The rules are wrong." Like, that's an actual quote. The rules are wrong.
Mm.
What type of fucking expert commentary is that?
Neither expert, nor is it commentary.
It's really not. It really is not.
It's a whinge. And it's a baseless whinge. It's a pointless whinge. It's a whinge for the sake of whinging because you're just a mindless, boring old cunt. That's all it is. I'm sick of hearing ref bashing. I had some moron having a go at me the other day saying, the reason why the Tigers lost to Canberra is because of the referees. They were favouring Raiders. I went,
oh my
piss
goodness.
off. Piss off.
But
and it's talking about how the referees are being paid by the NRL. The Raiders are the NRL's team this year. Fuck off. What sort of conspiracy bullshit is that? Seriously, just take that idea, roll it up, and then shove it right up your ass. And while you're doing that, delete your Twitter account. Stop fucking talking to me. Just, God, that's so irritatingly stupid.
Yeah, and you know what? It's because you get people that aren't hardcore rugby league fans, right? And they might sit down and watch a couple of games a week, and they might be Channel 9 games. And if they're getting this sort of shit analysis, where, like, I flicked on, there was one Channel 9 show, you know what it was? There was a game that I flicked on late, and it was a Channel 9 game, and Phil Gould was going off about the referees. And I couldn't believe it. But if that's all you hear, if that's your only rugby league that you get for the weekend, you would think that the referees are terrible and that they have no idea, because your supposed experts are telling you that the rules are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just not. Like, they're just not. I can't stress that these obstruction rules are fantastic. They really emphasize that if a player makes a poor decision in defence, they get penalised for it. If a non-ball runner knocks a defensive player or interferes in the defensive line, they get penalised for it. It's really straightforward. And, I really enjoy this rule being in place. I think it's really cleared it up fantastically. How many times do you get 16 NRL coaches agreeing on a good rule change?
Mm.
It just never happens. And, there are people that will say, we're getting too many tries called back because they're saying it's obstruction. What's funny? The best coach teams don't get that many tries called back because of obstruction calls. It's normally the ones that are poorly coached or the teams that just don't have the high-end talent where they have misplays and they stuff up. It's the attack that's stuffing up and doing this. It's not the defence.
No, it's never the defence. I don't know. I've spent a while over the last 2 years trying to figure out what it is that Phil Gould wishes the game looked like.
Mm.
And I can't see how his vision of what the game should look like is an improvement on what we currently have. It just isn't.
Look, a couple of months ago, saying that players should be part-time. And
stupid. He's just stupid.
I wouldn't care about this stuff if he wasn't on one of the biggest platforms to get information out about rugby league. But the problem is, hundreds of thousands of people are taking this information in, and they think that it's correct, and it's not. It's wrong.
One of them is Peter V'landys, and that's the worry, is that the people who matter to the game listen to Phil Gould. Because he was a reasonably successful coach, he's seen as some sort of doyen and intelligent person when it comes to how the game should run. And you know what? He is. He's a really good analyst for how the game should be run if it's 1992. It's not 1992 anymore, Gus.
You know what we're saying too? They're starting to get on the referees and the 10 meters that they're having trouble with, because because we've got one referee now, they're having to watch everything, which is basically physically impossible. And now they're starting to go at that again, which is just the cycle, the same stupid cycle.
You know what else is kind of funny about having one ref, which they haven't brought up, is play the balls on our tunnel ball.
Yeah, 100%. I've been noticing that too. There's a lot of those where they don't get their foot to the ball at all, like they're not even trying, and I keep on waiting for it to be called up, and it's not being called up.
They can't. They don't have the time to.
No.
But apparently referees as touch judges, they can see all of this, and I got told that. And someone mocked me when I said having referees as touch judges and claiming that that's just extra eyes on the field is like having a square leg umpire, giving assistance for an LBW decision.
Yeah. That's a good analogy.
You can't. Yeah. You cannot look through even one player if they're in front of you. And there's a fair chance more often than not, if the play's in the middle of the field, you've got to look through 5 or 6 different players as play's moving to try and keep an eye on the ruck. As well as the referee trying to follow everything else, trying to keep them on side, stuff like that. You cannot adjudicate a game of rugby league from the sideline.
No.
That's why we had sideline officials and we had referees on the field. If you could adjudicate the game from the sideline, you wouldn't have an on-field referee. But you do, because you need them there. It's so bleedingly obvious that the game needs 2 referees. Why? Because it's so much faster, and because every club is out there trying to exploit every tiny loophole and rule they can. Mm-hmm. So you need more eyes on the ball, more eyes on the ruck, more eyes on the 10 metres. Taking match officials out of the game, off the field, is not going to lead to a better experience. It's not going to lead to a better adjudicated game. And after the second week of games and some of the things that players are getting away with started to become more noticeable and more frequent, there was this brief little period that only lasted about a week where all of those people who hated 2 referees were in a bit of a conflict because they made most of their commentary was based on bashing referees. Mm-hmm. And the other part was lobbying for one referee. And now they're in a situation where they wanted to bash referees, but they got the refereeing system that they wanted. So by bashing them, they were making themselves a hypocrite. So they were biting their tongue. And it was quite interesting to see how long it would take before one of them would just jump into the fray and go, fuck it, I don't care if I'm a hypocrite, it's got to be said. Mm-hmm. And then they start to slowly follow on. And you think, you wanted this, you idiots.
Yeah. And look, and this is the very beginning of it. Where a club's going to be in like 16 rounds from now when they've had time to really work out the best thing. Like, are we going to see, remember out of the back end of the Super League war when they sped the ball up completely? Mm-hmm. And it was almost completely tunnable. Like it was like they had to go back and say, hang on a second, you got to play the ball, you got to touch your foot to it. Do you all know that? And that's when the game slowed down a bit, and they cleaned up the ruck. And it's funny because what a lot of people in the media are now claiming is a cleaned up ruck. We're seeing a lot of players not getting to their feet before they put the ball down to play it. We're seeing a lot of players just tunnel balling it between their legs. To me, that's not a clean play the ball. And, sure, the game is quick, but, like, why don't we just tap it on our foot then? Because that would make it even quicker, like a game of touch footy, or not touch footy in the official sense, but, the sort of touch footy you used to play at school where you get touched, you tap it on your foot, keep going, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, I just think that the media analysis of the game is so poor right now, and it's just really frustrating because what I'm seeing on the field and what I'm seeing being talked about in the mainstream media is there's this complete disconnect. And the problem I have with it, it's not the people that are listening to this podcast that are doing their runs or going to work or whatever, and they're sitting down and listening to a footy podcast. It's the ones that they only take in a game or so a week, maybe even less than that. And they might put on the footy every few weeks if there's a big game on. And if all they're hearing is that the game is poorly run, the referees don't know what they're doing, the bunker is a terrible idea, and all this other crap, they don't know any better. They don't know what they don't know. They're just taking the supposed expert's word for it. And so when you see a supposed expert taking a real clear-cut rule and, whinging about it and not giving a real good sense of how they would change it, it just doesn't do it for me. It pisses me right off.
That's the thing. I can handle criticism of the game. And there's been a lot of articles that I've disagreed with over time, but the criticism has come with that person's own solution.
Mm-hmm.
I can handle that because you've seen something you think's wrong. You've put your balls on the line and offered a solution. That deserves respect. And I'm not going to hate on people who do that, even if I disagree with everything they say.
Look, I won't even be upset if someone says, I don't like this thing. I don't like this rule. I don't like whatever it is. But I don't have the solution within me. I just know I'm not a fan of it. I've got no problems with that. But we're not even seeing that.
No, it's just whinge, and that's it. There's no substance to it.
No.
It's just whinging for the sake of it. And that's the thing that sucks so badly because you're an analyst. I mean, it's your job to analyze the game and tell us what's going on. And when you say something's wrong, it's kind of like you're half finishing a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
We're waiting for you to go, what should they be doing? And it never comes. And the reason why it never comes is because they don't want it to be fixed because then they've got nothing to whinge about.
Look, I reckon we're a month and a half from one of them saying, you know what? We need 2 referees.
Who will jump first?
I reckon it'll be someone from Fox Sports.
I'm going Paul Kent.
Okay. Yeah, Paul Kent. It'll be someone like him. It won't be Rothfield.
No. He doesn't watch the game, so he wouldn't know.
No. But yeah, it's frustrating. It's so frustrating because we've got the best game in the world. We really do. And there's been a lot of rules over the years that have been very difficult to get into black and white. And we have one with the obstruction rule. It is beautifully written. It is really easy to understand, really easy to interpret. And to see it attacked for no other reason than some old dinosaur just doesn't like it. And that's it. That's where the argument ends. Fuck that, man. That really pissed me off today.
Yeah, no, I fully concur with that, my friend. I really do. And when it happens so often with nothing of substance offered as an alternative,
mm-hmm.
The pessimist side of me just thinks there's a hidden agenda behind it. Like, why are they not offering a solution? Because they never do. And so there's got to be a reason for it. That's why I think it's done purely so they've got something to constantly whinge about. What would they do if the game was perfect? What would they do? Like, they'd actually have to sit and watch the game. And they don't know the game anymore, so they can't watch it and analyze it. They'd be completely irrelevant.
And it's weird because you can sit down to watch a game of footy or listen to it on the radio and be 20 minutes into it and be like, man, I don't think these people like the game at all. Like on T2GB, they've got a couple of main callers, and I don't even know their names. I only hear 2GB when I jump in the car. I haven't got Bluetooth in my car, so it doesn't start playing my music or podcasts. And so 2GB goes on, and it just, I listen to them, and it's like these people are just complaining about this game of rugby league. They should go and do something else because they sound fucking miserable. And the problem is that you start thinking to yourself, wow, this game must be really terrible, or these people don't know what they're doing. And then you'll see a replay of the game and you think, wow, this game's really good. And there's just a disconnect. How many times can you listen to supposed experts just complaining about the game before you just don't want to hear it anymore?
Yeah, it's got to the point where I wish all you had was main play callers and the colour commentators were just there at half-time and full-time.
Yeah.
Because they're the problem.
Yeah, and that's why I really rate Warren Smith from Fox Sports.
Mm-hmm.
Because he, and he will say, if a referee makes a mistake, he'll say, it's not like he avoids it or he rose-coloured glasses, poor decisions. But he just calls the game.
Yeah, and he calls out a mistake and then he moves on.
Yeah, exactly. I was listening to some fucking caller on 2GB where it was 5 minutes later, and this is a radio call, so you've got to be calling the play, and the main caller is still whinging about something that happened 5 minutes earlier. I couldn't believe it.
And that's the thing. These colour commentators are the ones who are, the biggest whingers. Your Braithen Astor, your Corey Parkers, Phil Goulds, Andrew Johns.
Oh, Johns is terrible.
So on and so forth. That's all they do.
I don't know what it is with Andrew Johns, right? But whenever I hear him calling a game, he just sounds like a fucking crab. Man, he just sounds miserable. He really does. He sounds miserable. And look, it might be the fact that in terms of football, he's literally a genius. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It might be the fact that he can't get out of his own head when he's watching some of these things that happen. And look, that happens with the great, great players. That's why they don't make good coaches, because all they can think about is the 10 problems that they're seeing on the field that they would have, in their mind, done correctly. And they're seeing these players that aren't as good as they used to be doing these mistakes that they see them. And it might be mistakes like when they're running a decoy, as a decoy runner, they're not running the right line. It can be small things. And it could be something like that. And I'm willing to say, man, if that happens, but when you mix that in with all the other negativity, it's just really fucking difficult to listen to.
It is. It's the thing. I can handle it when they get frustrated with the way a player plays the game. Because more often than not, when a player does something wrong, they will offer like an alternative. This is what he should have done.
Yeah.
That's fine by me. That's what a proper analyst does.
Mm-hmm.
When a referee gets a mistake wrong, it's, he should have, he's made this mistake, he's done this before, this is why the rule's wrong, and this is what's been a big problem, and it's been this problem for, in this game and that game, remember they did this, and and it just goes on and on, they just snowball, and next thing you know, 5 minutes have gone, and they've just been talking about the same one mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to ask these people, why is it that when a player makes one mistake, it's not considered game altering, like in the 20th minute, but if a referee makes a mistake, automatically it's the talking point of the match?
Yeah. And you know what's a mistake? A mistake is when the game's on the line and you're attacking the opposition's defensive line and they're battling to hold their line on their own try line, and you run through as a decoy runner and you interfere with the defender.
Yeah, you stop in the line.
Yeah, and you cost your side a try. That's your mistake. That's not a refereeing mistake.
Nope, it's not a rules mistake. Every single player knows the rule. They're all coached to the rule. They know the rules.
Yep.
This is another reason why I just absolutely detest this bloody ref challenge thing.
You know what? I'm liking it, and I'll tell you why. Because the terrible decisions to challenge, like when a player just drops a ball and they get up and they're like, challenge it, and it's clear as day immediately that they just dropped the ball, I think that it's showing how good the referees actually are.
Yeah, I just don't like the whole premise of the whole thing.
Yeah, I get that.
You could end up getting Cameron Smith on there, okay, and a lot of people are going to talk about him being a referee. Let's take that bullshit aside, okay?
Yeah.
You got, possibly the modern day's greatest player.
Yeah, and the most experienced player in the game's history. One of the greatest winners in the game's history. Isn't it funny that he might have an analytical brain on his head? Shock horror.
But, he gets to a decision where he goes, you know what, I'm going to argue this with the referee and just say, and when I say argue, I mean, he does the ref challenge. He's not going to sit there and say, oh, you fucking idiot, you got that wrong. He doesn't do that. And go off on the side. This is why he's so good at, getting on with referees and getting decisions go his ways, because he treats the referee with respect. He approaches them calmly. Mm-hmm. They're going to listen.
Yeah.
You think about it yourself. If you're sitting there serving someone and someone comes up to you with a complaint and they're abusing you and swearing at you and yelling at you, how likely are you to help them out compared to someone who comes along and they're very polite and mild-mannered and calm and they're very respectful of you? Of course you're going to help the latter person. You're not going to be that keen to jump in and help out the first person. You're going to want them to piss off.
Yeah.
Cameron Smith uses the same approach to referees. Now, if he goes and challenges a referee, every single kid thinks, well, if Cameron Smith can sit there and get a referee to change his mind, then that tells me that referees can't be trusted and we can question all their decisions. And that's the bit I hate about it.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is too, like you look at the way that Cameron Smith approaches a referee or speaks to a referee during a game, and it's not like he runs over and he's ear bashing them. You line that up to what James Maloney used to do, where he would ear bash the referees.
Mm-hmm. And
it was fucking annoying, even for a Panthers fan when he played for the Panthers. It's like, man, I wish he'd shut up because this isn't good for us, It's not a shock that this great player who has played more games than everyone else has the extra capacity to, in the midst of an NRL game, have a discussion about what's going on to a referee. And look, I've never heard him speaking to a referee and a referee go, wow, you're right, Cameron. I'm going to change this decision. I've never seen a referee change the decision.
No.
He's just, for the most part, I reckon if the referees weren't there, man, he'd be probably talking to the opposition players about what's going on in the game. This is an all-time great player. I don't know why people piss and moan about him. I really don't. Like, I feel privileged every time I get to watch Cameron Smith play. You're watching an all-time great player out there and a player who has seen more on an NRL field than any other in the game's entire history. Man, and it's incredible. He's playing bloody great. I wouldn't take another hooker over him right now.
No, I fully agree, mate. I find it very amusing how someone can get criticised for being respectful to someone.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing ever.
It is. It really is. And I've never understood the Cameron Smith hate. I really haven't. It feels detached from what I see out of the game. It's really weird. I don't know where it comes from.
I think it's probably from, he was pretty. He was pretty much one of the first people to get involved in some of these really nasty looking wrestling moves.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he missed a grand final when he tried to treat Sam Siday's head like it was the top of a stubby.
Yep.
Just trying to twist that thing off. And so I think a lot of it comes from that. Similar reason to why a lot of people for a long time hated Paul Gallen. He was into some of the grubby shit too on the field. Not so much the wrestling hole, but just, we'll always go back to the Frankie and trying to rip out the stitches thing. It's just, you just don't need that shit on a football field.
Mm-hmm.
And the same goes for the wrestling stuff. And a lot of, that's what people get angry about. And while, the back half of Gallen's career there wasn't actually that much grubbiness in there. It's something that sticks with a player. You never shake that. I mean, Josh Maguire still got it.
Yeah.
And that's how he's going to be remembered. He was a grub on the field. No one's going to remember him for anything he did for Queensland or Australia. It's just he was a grub on the field.
And I guess Cameron Smith, because he's the longest serving of the Storm's great players from this ridiculous era. I mean, we really haven't seen an era like this where a team's been this good for this long. Even this great St George teams, I mean, they had a peak and they won 11 straight premierships, granted, but it wasn't like this. I mean, Cameron Smith's been playing for 20 odd years, just about, and they've been great his entire time there. It's kind of crazy. And I guess he becomes a symbol of some of the stuff that the Melbourne Storm have been criticised for in the past. And I think that because that's attached to him, I guess that's something as well.
Yeah, it's quite possible. I don't know, and unless a lot of people are attaching that whole, salary cap cheating stuff to him as well. But, he wasn't the bloke who was writing up the contracts for everyone.
No, and I really have. I've seen people, and look, a lot of those Storm players get lagged into that. And, I can understand people were upset about the salary cap cheating. It was disgusting. What they did, the club, the salary cap cheating was gross, and they did it cynically. They knew exactly what they were doing when they did that. But that wasn't the players. That was the club. That was the club itself.
Yeah.
You can't go around saying, well, Cameron Smith, what about when you cheated the cap? He wasn't cheating the cap.
And when people come out and say, oh, yeah, but I mean, the players didn't say no to the contracts, and go, why would you? Like, how is Cameron Smith supposed to know what's been offered to Greg Inglis and Billy Slater and Cooper Cronk and Ryan Hoffman and so on and so forth?
I've heard people say they would have known. Like, they all sit around and say...
would have isn't the same as does.
Does, yeah. But like that, they all sit around in the dressing rooms going, hang on a second, if I'm on this and you're on this, and hey, like player number 27 in our squad, what are you on again? Yeah, I'm fucking doing the sums, man, and this isn't adding up. What's going on here? Like, it's just this fantasy land that people... I've said before, sometimes I think there's this caricature of rugby league and rugby league people that people create in their heads, and it's just not based on reality.
No. Very, very far from it.
Hey, do you want some good news?
I was going to say, we've been a bit cranky.
Yeah. Let's talk about some nice stuff, because...
Yeah, what's some good stuff you got there?
Okay. Callan Ponga.
Callan Ponga?
Do I say his name wrong? Because I call him Callan.
I'd say Kalen.
Callan Ponga. But his name is Kalyn.
Yeah, Kalen.
I don't know. Anyway. Callan Ponga.
We just call him K-Pong.
The Pongster. Pongmeister.
I'm going with K-Pong.
Okay, K-Pong. He has signed a 4-year contract extension with the Newcastle Knights that will reportedly pay him more than $1 million a year. Mm-hmm. He signed that on Tuesday evening. It's fantastic news for the Knights. I think it's fantastic news for him. He's one of my favourite players to watch. I absolutely love watching him play. I was hoping that maybe the Panthers would be able to lure him across if we'd got enough money free, but I'm also happy that he's going to be a Knight for the next 4 years. So that's fantastic news for the Knights club.
Yeah, no, I agree. It would have been a few clubs with a bit of cash coming up at the end of this year too, who would have been circling. So that's pretty good work by the Knights as well to lock him up before, all the rivals started to circle around and started making bids, because it's probably saved them a bit of money too.
Yeah, that's true. And look, I think he'll be 26 when this one runs out, this contract. So that'll be coming into the very prime of his career.
Well, he'll be a 4-year deal short of the prime of his career, won't he?
Yeah, according to Matty Johns. But it's a really good time to sign it. I think it's a good time for the Knights to get him on board. If I was the Knights, I would have offered him a longer deal, but I could see where he would turn something like that down. I think one of the reasons he probably is signed at this point is because a lot of the other avenues where he could have got big money as well, obviously the money for a lot of sporting competitions has disappeared because of the pandemic. This is guaranteed money for the next 4 years. He knows that the NRL is good for it. It's a pretty good time to sign that contract for him. So that's great news. I tend to feel like when this contract comes up, he might be, if he continues to improve, and I think he's still improving, he might get close to being the first $2 million player I reckon we've had in the NRL. When he's 26 years old and that contract comes up, that's my prediction.
Big call.
It is.
Have we got a $1.5 million player yet?
I think the highest was, I think Thurston was not 1.5, but I think he was getting up there towards it. See, the way I'm looking at it is this. He's going to have a lot of experience by then. He's not injury prone. He's a good level-headed person. His playmaking ability is fantastic. I think he's going to end up being a 5'8" by then. And I just feel as though he could be the finishing piece you get him in a solid team, he could be the finishing piece. And I feel like it'd be worth it for some teams.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a chance that someone else will get to that $2 million before Ponga.
Who do you reckon would do that?
If Parramatta makes it to the grand final and wins this year,
yeah,
Mitch Moses will be on $3 million a year as of next year. You can lock that shit in. Gutherson will be on $2 million.
Possibly.
Nail it down. They'll link up with whoever it is that owns Westfield, and I'll just give both of them a Westfield Plaza and just say, you keep all the rent money, guys, every year.
That reminds me of a conversation that was started a little bit today on Twitter, and it was started by, there was an article written by a journalist, and I'm really sorry I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't one of the ones we normally complain about.
Oh, good.
And they were saying that James Tedesco is the best player in the world. And in my opinion, the best player in the world is Jason Taumalolo. And then it's Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, and then Tedesco after him. And then it might actually be Cameron Smith, But I had a few people that weren't happy about me saying it was Taumalolo. Now, I know you're a big fan of his, and so you're probably biased to a certain extent. But what do you think? Do you reckon it's Tedesco?
For me, I've got Tedesco just ahead of Taumalolo.
Okay.
Because I think you can put Tedesco in any side, and they're automatically immensely improved in the backline to the extent where you could put him in a team that's got absolute crap halves, and he could still help them win games.
See, I feel that way about Taumalolo in the sense that, I think that you could put him in probably 12 of the NRL teams, and they would be immensely better.
Which clubs would turn down Tedesco if he was offered to them?
I don't think any club would, but I feel like no club would turn down Taumalolo as well.
No, they probably wouldn't. But I mean, if you said about 12 teams,
yeah,
I don't know that any team would knock back, other than probably the Warriors, actually, that would knock back Tedesco.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think we're at the point where Tedesco, RTS, and Taumalolo are, for me, clearly the three best players in the world, and it's quite a distance after them.
100%. And, I think for me, it's RTS and Tedesco tend to, from week to week, you could change your mind on them, in my opinion, being 2 and 3, and I wouldn't argue with it. The way I kind of look at it is, and let's look at it from the point of view of my team, the Panthers, right? If you put, say, Tedesco at the back of the Panthers, they're a fantastic team. If you put RTS at the back, they're a fantastic team. If you put Taumalolo in that Panthers team with Kickow, I just want to run around the house and just get all giddy thinking about that. You know what I mean? Because that would be ridiculous. That'd be like some shit we've never seen before. So yeah, I would have Taumalolo as still the best in the world, but I agree with you. Those three are definitely in a class of their own, and we've talked about it before. I've said Taumalolo and RTS I'm rating on all-time scales now, not just against their peers, and I want to see a couple more seasons of that out of Tedesco, even as good as he's playing, before I start doing that with him and start looking at him against the Slaters and the Lockiers and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's the way I feel about it.
That's fair enough. As I said before, I'm a bit the same about anyone who's a current player, and it's not a slight on them. I just don't think we can compare greats amongst current players. I can only compare, retired players with retired players based on their legacy. I think it's the only thing you can really judge someone on.
Mm-hmm. And I respect that too.
Yeah. How long can someone be remembered after they've finished playing?
Well, that's the weird one for me is Anthony Minicello, because he was absolutely outstanding for the Roosters, New South Wales, Australia. At the time, you would have said, oh, yeah, he's probably the best player in the world a number of times during his career. But when you're talking about the all-time great fullbacks, I don't think I've ever heard anyone toss his name up. And there's something in that. And it's not a slight against him. It's not... but there is definitely something in that, and I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on what it is.
It's called, for me, that's just recency bias. Mm-hmm. But we can all be giddy and whatnot about a player when they're playing and they're doing the great stuff all the time. But when they retire and you move on, you've got a chance to reflect on their careers and compare them against other retired players, and you go, yeah, I think I still favoured this bloke a bit more. And I don't know, for me, there's just some players, when you watch them play, even in their first season, there'll always be, there's not a heap of them. There'll just be one or two players that come along over every decade or so. And you look at them and you just go in your own mind, you just know, yeah, that's a superstar right there. Mm. And for me, it was... in 1989, I saw Brasher and Fittler both playing. Mm. Just knew they were going to make it and they were going to be stars. And I couldn't put my finger on why. I mean, it's fucking 9 years old. Mm. In my own head, I just went, they've got it. I don't know what it is. And I very rarely have I seen it since. I remember seeing it when Benji Marshall played his first game. Mm-hmm. That kid's going to be something.
I feel it when I watch Payne Haas. When I watch Payne Haas play, and first of all, he's a giant. He's an absolute giant. His mobility is very, very special. He's got a pretty good motor on him for someone his size as well. And he's so young. He's ridiculously young. For what he's doing when forwards usually get good towards their late 20s, you would take what he's producing now for his entire career and be happy with it and say he was a very, very good player. So when I watch Haas play, I'm like, man, we could be watching him in like 15 years from now and being like, what an incredible career he's had and how much better he got. And to me, that's so exciting. I love watching the Broncos play just to watch him play.
I'll tell you what I'm surprised about with Payne Haas. And this is more the media than anything else. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised there hasn't been comparisons between him and Arthur Beetson yet.
See, for me, I'm surprised that, and this might sound like a really weird comparison, but to me, I'm surprised people don't line him up against Lazarus.
I'm not so much talking about playing style, more just about how boldly they came into first grade and how impressive they were from the absolute outset. Like, I can't remember a prop or any forward really that just came along and just announced himself like Beatson did.
Yeah.
And Haas is close. And I'm just surprised that no one in the media has sort of dragged it up, probably because I don't really remember anything.
You know what it is about Haas? I tell you, you know what it is about Haas, right? When I watch Haas play, I'm like, this is the next step for the props in the game. I feel like we're watching the future of like, we know what we've had in the past and we've had some great props. And I feel like since Webke retired, we haven't had that gold standard. This is the next thing. And not so much Webke because I guess Steven Asiva as well was there, but it was the end of his career. I feel like Haas is the next thing. He's the next one. And man, I just love watching him play. It's so cool.
I do wonder if these rules stay in place, how they're going to impact his style.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if these rules, the way they are, stay in place, he may have to lose a few kilos. And I don't know how that's going to impact his style.
Mm.
Because you see some players, especially big props like that, and their confidence comes in their size.
Yeah.
And so if they lose a bit of size, they lose a bit of confidence. And that's the only concern I got. And for me, I don't know. I think this could be. I'm waiting to see how David Fafita goes. I think he's out injured or something at the moment. So
yeah,
I think it's suited perfectly for Fafita to really, really have a massive year.
Oh, can you imagine him when they're on a roll, and does he remind you of Tallis?
Yes, he's sort of a combination between a Tallis and Tormalolo to a degree, just in the sense that he can pull out just a play when nothing's on,
yeah,
and just bust through the line and set something up, and all of a sudden you get some momentum off the back of it. Doesn't mind running a little bit wide like Tallis did.
Mm-hmm. So he runs
with good force too.
Yeah, he reminds me of Tallis in that he can punch through the line, right? But the thing about him is that he's got that top speed to go on with it, whereas Tallis would bust through the line and look, he could score, but he didn't have that speed that let him get away from, say, a fullback or even outside backs that were chasing him. Whereas I feel like Fafita's got that speed, and he's also got the balance and upper body strength too, where if they do get to him, it's not exactly a good chance of them getting him down. Like he runs like a centre when he's made that break, but when he's punching through that line, he reminds me so much of Tallis.
Yeah, maybe the speed's a bit more of a Brad Clyde type thing.
Yeah, Clyde was pretty good when he'd make a break, hey?
Yeah, he had a good bit of toe, and good enough where he could make a good 30 metres before he'd need to start looking around for support, which is enough to get him in front of the defenders chasing him and up to the fullback. So it was plenty of time for one of his outside backs to get around him and position themselves nicely so he could just give him a good pass. And I mean, Clyde had a great pass left to right as well. So, yeah, I think the crazy thing about Fafita is he's so young. He's just got so much more improvement to do, and he's already, banging on the door for test selection. So
it's outrageous. It's him and to have him and Haas in the same side, and like if they were 26 and we were saying, oh yeah, they're coming into their prime of their career, you'd be happy with it. You'd be really happy with where they're at, and they're just starting out. It's so cool.
Oh, it really is.
I like that about Nathan Cleary on the weekend, in that, and I think I mentioned that in the last episode, where I was just so happy to see the command of the game he had, and it looks like he's gone to the next level for a halfback where he doesn't look like he's learning the game anymore. He looks like he has just a command of everything that's going on around him, and that's something that only the truly great halfbacks have. Now, it's based on one game. Like, he could come out next week and I could be like, oh, geez, I was pumped up after last week. But I just really liked what I saw, especially with that the 2 weeks off that he had off the back of the pandemic break. It was just so promising.
It really was. I'll tell you what, if he goes on and has a big year, I wonder how many other halfbacks will start getting into TikTok dancing.
I'd get all of them doing it. Just, off season. That's all I would want is TikTok videos.
If Nathan Cleary wins the Daly M, I want to see him get up at the table and just start doing that TikTok dance with all those chicks, with hat on sideways and everything, just dancing around before he even gets the award. And he goes up, picks up, gives a lovely, humble speech, walks back down, gives a little wave to the camera. Hi, Mum, how you going? And then gets back to the table and just more dancing.
That would be brilliant.
I think that's the only way to do it. I hope you're listening, Nathan. Do that.
Yeah, get it done.
Yeah.
We'd support that.
Bloody oath.
I got asked today about whether I'd brought a beanie for brain cancer for the Mark Hughes Foundation. It's beanie for brain cancer round, I believe, in the NRL. And I just wanted to bring it up. You can go to markhughesfoundation.com.au. You can make a straight donation there. You can volunteer. You can buy a beanie, but obviously it's going to take a while to get to you. I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to buy beanies at the NRL. Well, if you're able to go to the NRL this weekend, there's not many of us that can do that. But I just wanted to get it out there. Go there and donate some money. And yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because it was brought up to me today on Twitter. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got 2 or 3 of the beanies. I think I've bought one every year so far.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I don't think I haven't bought one, but I'm trying to think how many NRL games I've been to over the last couple of years, and I definitely haven't been during the beanie for brain cancer round. So
yeah. Beanies are pretty good. For those who don't know, I do a fair bit of work at a massive warehouse with cold storage there, and I've now got to do a fair bit of work in the big freezer section. Man, I take those beanies every day now. Because
they work good, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I go in there with that on, sweeping the floor, doing hard work, stacking people's groceries and shit.
Nice.
That's what I do.
The rest of Australia eats its food.
Exactly.
Hey, the other night when you were eating trail mix, mate, I've gone through half a kilo of it since. I was in the shops the other day. I was the good people at Woolworths. That's who you work for. I was in Woolworths, and I saw the trail mix, and I was like, "Oh yeah, get some of that into you." And I tore through it.
I get the my new favorite is the Nutri-Grain trail mix.
That's right. Yeah, you had that stuff. Yeah.
They got 3 different flavors, and they're all fantastic. I strongly recommend, if you see it, buy one of each flavor.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You won't be able to pick a favorite. They're all fucking fantastic. There's a smoky barbecue, a sweet chili, and original spice. And they're good because most people who are fussy when it comes to trail mixes, this one's really good because it's just Nutri-Grain, which everyone can handle, and peanuts, which it's the least obnoxious nut there is, really. You can eat it and go, yeah, I'm fine with this. This is good. And just a bit of flavouring on top.
Yeah.
Can't argue.
It's pretty good. The one I got was the Woolworths brand one. I'm sure it had a name, but it was probably called some fucking shit. But it was a Woolworths brand one, and yeah, I smashed it. So I'm really bad like that. If someone says, oh, you know what, I'm eating ham and pineapple pizza, I end up having one within the next 24 hours. That's terrible.
You're so impressionable.
I really am. I guess because I try and impress myself on other people, I guess some of it's got to bounce back, hey? It's normally food stuff too. This is true.
So the big question of the day is, have we had any emails?
We have. Yes. Andrew, we have had one email from a wonderful listener, and I'm not stalling for time here. I just want to make that clear.
Okay, good. Was it spam?
No, it was an actual listener. Okay, here we go.
One day we'll get spam. We're going to read it out and we're going to discuss a tactic to respond to it.
I've actually got some spam we could do that with. Anyway, let's read this one. This one is from Ash, as a listener of ours, and they say, "Hello hosts of my favourite podcast."
Oh,
that's nice, eh? That makes
you're a winner, Ash.
Exactly. I've kept my questions more appropriate this time, so you don't have to omit any of them. That's pretty cool. Oh yeah, remember Ash asked us one. Yeah. Number 1, do you think that a club based in Fiji will ever compete in the NRL? Could you ever see this being economically viable and sustainable?
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think it will happen in, say, the next 20 years, but I think what we could see is a more Pacific Island-focused club that was maybe based in Wellington. Like, remember the Wellington Orcas, I think they were going to call themselves?
Yes, they were.
Something along those lines. I've said that a team based in Hawaii along those lines would be awesome. So I think we'll see something like that where they might play one game in Fiji, one game in Samoa, one game in Tonga, and do something like that. But I don't think you could base a team on an island and it be economically viable because they just don't have the commercial base that I think you'd need.
Yeah.
His second question, who do you think would win a match between expat Aussies playing in the English Super League and expat Brits playing in the NRL?
Aussies.
Yeah, I'd say Aussies.
Even if you give some of the expat pommies a couple of Aussies with some flimsy attachments to England ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
Not suggesting that happens at the moment.
Jason Hastings.
Yeah, I still think the Aussies will get up. It's a good question, though, because the quality of the English players in Australia at the moment are probably the best we've had in quite a few generations. But I still think the Aussies will get up.
What do you think, right, about some of the Raiders' Poms? Because they've had 2 pretty rough weekends. They won last week against the Tigers, but they looked, I think it was their worst game of the season for the Raiders. And there was a lot of talk about George Williams, a lot of hype around him. I thought he was really poor in their last 2 games. And Josh Hodgson, I don't think he's an NRL quality hooker.
Hodgson's been a bit quiet this year. I'll give him that. I haven't minded him so much. I thought he's played pretty well for the rest of his career here. Has been a bit quiet this year. I think Elliot Whitehead's the best Pommy player they've got by a mile.
I agree 100%. And he doesn't get enough attention for just the solid performances he puts in every week. No. He gets overshadowed by some of his teammates who like the drama. Hodgson, his service out of dummy half the last couple of weeks has been the worst in the NRL, easily. His defence has been poor. Some of the options he's taken in attack have been really poor for the Raiders. I don't know if it's something that Ricky Stewart will be looking at and looking to make a change with, but if it did continue going forward this season, I think it would be something that Stewart would have to, see what other options he has.
I don't think he's got any other options. That's the thing.
Well, that's the thing. No one jumps out. I don't know what you do in that situation. But I wonder if in a couple of weeks' time, if he keeps playing this way, if Stewart starts looking for a youngster that maybe he can put on the bench and give some minutes and see what he can do, because it's hurting the Raiders. It's really hurting the Raiders at the moment. Williams' kicking game hasn't been too bad so far, but I felt as though, especially in the last game when things weren't quite going their way, he went to running the ball a lot, And that's all right. That can work with some players, and he's a good ball runner for a halfback. He's a real good ball runner. But, you need a little bit more out of your halfback in those situations. And it's part of the reason why they didn't score that many points against the Tigers team, whose defence wasn't that good on the weekend. I also and there's little things in his game. Like there was one play where he got tackled on the last tackle, and look, it happens sometimes with a halfback. But I think things you can get away with in Super League that you just can't do in the NRL. And look, he's only played a few games, and he'll no doubt improve. But Hodgson's the big issue for me with the Raiders, and I hope he does improve because they need him to. Because what he's dished up the last couple of weeks just has not been good enough.
I think, especially for Williams and Hodgson, is they rely heavily on the momentum of their forward pack, and it's a sizable pack. Mm-hmm. It's meaty, and I wonder if the faster play is catching up to them a little bit and sort of draining the tanks of those players in the last 20 minutes or so of games, or even in the last 10 minutes of each half. Perhaps I'll have to look into some of the data there and see if I can find something there. But their forwards weren't really they haven't been making the massive inroads and being the absolute, wrecking balls that they can be. And I think that's been a bit of a problem because when they're not making those big meters forward, Hodgson's not the sort of player who will, do a dummy half run on a regular basis to try and get the forwards moving. He'll do it every now and then, somewhat wisely when he sees an opportunity to exploit a gap or something like that, and not just take one for the team, and do a quick scoot out of dummy half to try and speed the play up.
Yeah.
I suppose it's something that Robbie Farah used to do a lot of, and sometimes to a lot of criticism. You'd see Farah and he'd sense that the forwards weren't getting on top of the opposition in a set, so he'd take a quick run from dummy half. Mm-hmm. And it sort of just got the defence on the back foot a little bit. Hodgson doesn't seem to do that as much, and I think maybe it's something he should probably look at doing. Mm-hmm. Williams, I'm not going to be too hard on him yet because he has had quite a few good games, and his kicking game has been very good. And I must admit, when he came over, I thought if there's ever in a game where the forwards are losing the battle, he's just going to be nothing but a passer. He's just going to get the ball and pass it on.
Yeah.
But he's been taking the line on, and I like the fact that when things are going tough, he's not afraid to run into the forward line. He's not afraid of that contact, and I genuinely thought he would be.
Yeah, I like that about him too. I just wonder. I'm a little bit worried at this stage, I guess, that the last 2 weeks for the Raiders have really... Look, in one of the games they lost, one of them they won, and it wasn't a good win, but I'm worried about it. And you know what? Another player in their team that's not playing as well as they did last year is Josh Papali. And I think that might come back to, as you said, the new rules and the effect that they're having on some of their big boppers, because at the end of last year, he was the best prop in the game. And this year he's been not near that sort of level, and he's been a little bit inconsistent on top of that. So that's a concern for them. Jack Whiten, though, I mean, his form has been unbelievable. Like, even on the weekend in a team that wasn't playing well, he was just a monster. It was unbelievable how well he played.
Yeah, it's crazy. And this is going to be the worst comparison ever. Mm-hmm. But there's one player that's always stood out to me in recent times, who's always just been someone who's been really, really hard to get to the ground in a tackle. Mm-hmm. Just the leg strength was insane. And it was Josh Dugan.
Oh, yeah.
Like, whenever you tried to do a legs tackle on Dugan, he'd just get out. He'd bump you off. He'd keep going. He'd just keep pushing and driving. He's just that sort of player. Mm-hmm. And Whiten has that, which means you can't take him on one-on-one. And that's part of the problem that opposition teams have with him when they're trying to defend him, because most outside backs, you can put a forward on them to defend them and you can shut them down to or at least stop them from moving. You just can't with Whiten. He's got that. He can drift sideways and drag defenders with him. He can push through them with his power. He does have a big step on him. God, he's just... Oh, man.
He's such a
great to
big dude.
watch.
He really is, and he's such a big dude, and he's got so much upper body strength. Like, he gets one-on-one with a halfback, it's over. He's going to just destroy them. And he's so much bigger than them. Like, he's standing over the top of them as he's running through them. It's pretty cool. I tell you what, Chance Nickel-Klogstad, right? He needs to grow his hair. He been terrible since he cut his hair.
He does. That was Samson curse.
Yeah.
Get the hair back.
100%. I wrote on my website today, actually, about what a key round this is for a bunch of NRL clubs. Like, basically, every single NRL club, there's only a couple of them where this round won't have a massive effect on them if they lose. We're seeing basically the bottom four sides playing one another and we're going to see two clear wooden spoon favourites come out of it. If the Roosters get beaten by the Eels are going to jump away. If the Raiders are probably one of the few teams where if they lose, it's not going to be too bad. But everyone else, like, they're going to either get into that top four and get a little bit of a distance between the pack and themselves, or they're back into that pack. And it's a really deep competition this year.
Oh, it really is. Mind you, there's two absolute fucking dog games this week too.
Yeah, they're
Dragons,
really bad.
Dragons, Titans, and Bulldogs, Sharks.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to be hard watching.
They really. I think. What game's going to be the worst to watch? I feel like.
Who are the Tigers playing? That'll be it.
Who are the Tigers playing this round? Did I write about the Tigers? I'm sure I wrote about the Tigers in this round. North Queensland versus West Tigers.
Oh.
I'm going to enjoy watching that game. I'm sorry, Andrew. And you know why.
Because you like watching Josh Reynolds play.
Big fan.
He inspires you.
He makes me want to be a better person. He inspires my haircuts. Well, once in my whole life he has.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, here's a question for you. And he's already done it once this season, but which forward pack do you reckon Jason Taumalolo would be able to go through more than any other pack?
Ooh.
Because I don't think it's the Tigers this year.
Titans. You know why? All he's got to do is run at Bryce Cartwright.
Oh, hang on, that's not fair. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
That's not fair. Yeah, I feel like you ruined it. You fucking ruined it, man. I'm talking about against teams with 17 first graders in it, okay? Not the Titans and Bryce Cartwright.
Oh, bloody hell. Now we're putting parameters on the argument.
Yeah. Here's my one parameter on this whole argument. You cannot use Bryce Cartwright.
Oh.
I feel like
Bulldogs. No, I don't think the Sharks pack is their problem.
I'm not saying that's the problem, but I feel like with how beaten that team looks at the moment, I feel like a lot of their players, they watch Sean Johnson play and they're like, man, what the fuck am I doing busting my ass when he's throwing the ball at the fucking, you know, cardboard cutouts?
I don't know. I'm not... The one forward pack I look at in the entire competition and go, it's South Sydney.
Their forward pack is pretty shitty, hey?
I don't know. I just don't... It just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
And they're probably doing okay. But as far as I'm concerned, any team that's below the West Tigers on the ladder, you know, you can't be doing much. It's South Sydney 10th, Tigers are 9th.
Yeah, I guess some of their backs. I mean, they've got some pretty good backs that are probably
backs.
lifting them through. That forward pack. I mean,
back seven's good. Hooker's good.
Mm.
Decent, very good lock. But the back row and the front row, I don't know. Doesn't really do much for me.
No. Having said all of this, watch Taumalolo come up against Penrith and run for 700 metres.
Well, that's the thing. I think if Penrith can get a little bit of consistency, they get a little bit of momentum, that forward pack's going to start being quite an asset because they are quite mobile.
Well, I think the new rules suit them.
Very much so.
Where last year you needed to have grunt and the Panthers were soft. I think this year the mobility helps them. Losing Kurt Capewell is a loss, but they'll get him back towards the end of the year. But yeah, I think that these rules suit their pack, and so the grunt that they didn't have last year, it's not as apparent because they can use that mobility.
I've got to say, I don't think Tamo's been that bad either this year.
No, he's been all right.
He's been solid.
But at the same time, I've seen that they've said they're not going to re-sign. Well, they haven't said, but the rumour is that they're not keen to re-sign him, especially on the money he's on.
There you go. Tigers have been talks with him then. Lock him in.
What did you think about losing Corey Thompson?
He's one of those players. He's a really handy player. You're not going to get a bad game out of him very often, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
Handy, reliable, but at the same time, he doesn't come across to me as a game breaker, X Factor type player. And the Tigers are a side that really need someone like that. So if he can get a better job security essentially, and a good wage by going to the Titans, then by all means, mate, you chase it because the Tigers just don't offer that. They never will. It's just a bloody revolving door there. Go chase some bloody job security and set up your family.
And I know you and me would both agree that he's the exact thing that the Titans needed. Like, they really needed somebody that you could say, you know what? Yeah, Corey Thompson, he'll sort this out.
He's a very handy fullback, very, very good winger. Can finish off a good backline movement too. And by having Sammy moved out onto the wing, that gives them a tall target when they're on attack to kick to. And that makes sense because, Sammy had been playing a fullback, this year. And it just took away an attacking option for them when they got down into the other half. Because Sammy would be hanging around, trying to be a link player more than trying to, jump up and grab a ball and score a try in the corner, something like that. So they've now got that target back. And Don on the other wing, who's very good under the high ball. I mean, that helps up their back line and their attacking options out wide, which is a good thing.
Can I confess something?
Mm.
I was being super sarcastic when I said that.
I'm not.
I know you're not. You're making a good argument.
I generally think it's going to be a good move for them. Because the other thing they've got to go for them, okay, is they've got Tyrone Roberts there, who they've had to constantly fiddle around and put him either at 5'8" or put him at fullback. And he's not a fullback.
No.
And I think Ash Taylor plays better when he's got Tyrone Roberts outside him. Because Roberts has got that experience. He's got a decent kicking game. He's got a good running game. He can take a bit of that pressure off him. And at the moment, they don't know what to do with him. So I think by having Corey Thompson there, it just means fullback's locked down. So there's no ambiguity over what Tyrone Roberts' role is going to be now. They've got to put him in at 6.
See, I just think I don't rate him as an NRL fullback. And I know that...
as I said, I don't think he's an NRL fullback either, but I think he's going to be less exploited at fullback than he's on the wing. You can't be a short winger anymore.
No. And he's like... It's not even though he's a short winger and he's a powerful runner or he's built like a brick shithouse like to O,
He's built like a halfback.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, when that that signing come through, and I think he signed for 3 years, I was like,
Yep.
Man, the fucking Titans. It just didn't do it for me. But you tend to think he's going to be a pretty good signing for them.
Yeah, I mean, they don't actually have a genuine fullback. AJ Brimson's out injured for pretty much the rest of the year.
Mm.
Why wouldn't you pick him? If you've got a bloke who's going to give you a solid 6.5, 7 every single week.
Yeah.
He's not going to cost you a game. Then why not take him? When you've got a team full of blokes who are throwing games away and struggling to win, you need as many blokes you can get who are not going to throw games away for you, just so you can be competitive. And once you get competitive, you can start finding those X-factor players and start doing proper upgrades. And Titans are a long way from getting superstars. They've got to start getting these solid players, start putting in solid performances, finish 8th or 9th or 10th or 11th a few years. Just get back in there and be competitive again. Then start signing those big-name players. So I think it's a step in the right direction for them.
Okay. When you
Your
said
sarcasm aside.
Yeah. Look, when you say a solid 6 or a 7, I just thought of Clint Gutherson.
See what you've improved your thoughts on Clint Gutherson.
Yeah, I think he's playing his best season so far.
You think he's up to 6 or 7 now?
Yeah, it's shocking.
Yeah.
He looks like a dude that is on about 450,000 at another club, but actually on 750 at the Eels.
Sounds like a Tigers contract.
Oh man, is there any other news that we've missed today?
I can't think of any. The only one I can think of is this talk of having crowds returning to games. Big crowds.
Yeah, well, sorry, go on.
It's as soon as, next week or something?
Yeah, I don't know what it is they're looking to do for next week. Because, it was supposed to be 2 weeks' time, July 1st, where they said they were going to allow 10,000, a cap of 10,000 at games, which is pretty good. So I guess, the round after next, I guess that's it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would you go? I think I asked you this. Would you go?
No.
You know what? It feels like there's a little bit of a bump in those numbers, hey?
Mm.
You know the COVID numbers?
Yeah. I don't like it. Yeah, the thing is, okay, all I've heard is how, and this is from both AFL and NRL, because they're both going to bring crowds back at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that is, we'll make sure that everyone's spaced out well inside the ground. And my first thought is, that's the easy thing.
Yeah.
You got seats there. You can say, right, you're in that seat, and just space yourself out. That's the easy thing to do. Mm-hmm. The hard thing to do is to make sure they all stay spaced out when they're queuing up outside the ground ready to get in.
Yeah.
So that shit's not going to happen. As soon as those gates open, they're pushing each other in the back. And that, to me, is the problem. And what happens, and this is not a crazy out there hypothetical, what happens if one of these people that comes into these games is found to be carrying but not showing any symptoms yet, the coronavirus? Mm-hmm. Have they then risked not just all the people attending that game, but possibly even the players on the field? Mm. Say the ball gets kicked in their direction, they touch it, and they throw it back. Then what?
Well, when we saw this scare with the Bulldogs,
mm-hmm.
and it all happened very quickly, and I thought it was a good response by the NRL. I thought it was a good response by the Bulldogs, everyone involved.
Absolutely was.
Unbelievable. And it showed that when you've got people that say, oh, you can't do this in rugby league, sometimes you can fucking get shit done in that 6 hours, time span, switching games around. That's huge.
Mm.
But makes me wonder what would happen if you rang up, say, New South Wales Health Department or something, and you had COVID-19 and you said, listen, I've got COVID-19 and I was hanging around at this footy stadium that this team plays at, what the response would be, because obviously they would look to postpone a game until such time as tests come back, and we're getting tests within 24 hours now, which is good. But you could really mess some stuff up if you did that. And I'm not saying people should do that. It'd be terrible if they did. But it just makes me wonder about this is all still pretty precarious. And to have, when you think that that could happen with one person, to let 10,000 into a game, it is a risk. They're calculating a risk here.
Yeah, look, I think too, the big concern for me, okay, and this is based on a story that came out of New Zealand today. Mm-hmm. That was, they've been COVID-19 free for 24 days.
Yep.
And then 2 people tested positive today.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that.
So,
wow.
That's the thing. You cannot be certain. And I don't know any other details of that story. That's just all I've seen. So if there's more to it, then sorry if I've not explained more. But that was the quick bit that I saw on the news today. The problem you got, okay, is until you can test every single person every single day, there is no way of knowing how many people are out there that have still got it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment, it's impossible to do that because there's just not enough test kits out there.
Mm-hmm.
So you can only test people who think they may have it, or people who might be, essential workers who just want to make sure that they're not going to be infecting their co-workers, or, as I do, you don't want to be spreading the disease through people's groceries.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how many people that's going to impact. So that's the concern is, it's going to mean a lot of people on trains, and there's no officials on trains to make sure everyone keeps 1.5 meters apart. And those things are just little virus containers until you get to a station. There's no ventilation on there, so if someone sneezes, you're just in there with their snot until you get to a station.
Yeah, you're huffing that stuff.
Yeah, and if you don't get off, then you're just going to be sucking that shit in until you do get off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it.
I feel like it's at least 2 weeks too early, especially when the numbers, they're not climbing hugely, but they're not disappearing completely yet either.
It's crazy because, back in March, I remember saying back then, I'll have to find out, but I reckon that this is going to be all over by the end of June.
Yeah.
I remember saying something like that. Like, I thought the whole coronavirus thing would be over by June. And to some extent, it's kind of close to that. But now that we're at this point where it's not completely over,
mm-hmm.
I'm now very, very suspicious about it being over all this year.
See, I know I was way more pessimistic than you about it all, and I think I was saying like September, October from memory, and it's weird because I've been way more optimistic over the last couple of weeks. It's like, and I've been going out and stuff like that, going to the shops, no masks or anything, but, also not, sitting on people's shoulders or anything like that. I've chosen not to do that recently.
Good move.
Yeah, well, people tend to find it uncomfortable. It's really weird.
Some would be a bit surprised.
Yeah, I know it always surprises me. It has for years. But recently I'm like, man, am I doing the right thing? Am I trying to get this shit? But we'll see. We'll find out. I've been getting stuff sent to me through the entire pandemic from China. So, I guess I've been taking that risk.
You've been dabbling.
I have, yeah. It's nothing huge, mainly just trafficking people, But you can't be too careful.
So long as you make sure you fill them with disinfectant before you bring them over, should be fine.
Yeah. Use that, what's that powder, that delousing powder? All stuff like that.
Yeah, you put it in there.
Yeah.
Is that asbestos?
I wonder what that shitty is made out of, eh? It's a good question. Anyway, this has been a good episode. I've enjoyed it.
It has. It's been very good. We've been cranky.
Mm-hmm.
And then we weren't.
Yeah, optimistic.
Yeah.
Happy.
What
other emotions did we show?
A little bit of snotty at the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
I included some sarcasm in there.
Yeah. I completely ran over the top of it with facts and.
I hated that. If you could not bring up facts again, that would be good. I don't want to be one of these podcasts that uses facts.
Yeah, we've got to stop doing that. We've been getting a bit analytical at times in our recent episodes.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, we need to get rid of that.
By the way, the episode that me and Katie did after the Parramatta game, I'm pretty sure I broke the record for the number of times I said cunt. And I did it on purpose too.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
This will be the first time that we've had an episode where we've both said it at least once.
Who did you call a cunt?
Well, you just have to go back and listen, won't you?
Yeah, I'm going to have to listen.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good one.
Well, people, you can go on to your podcasting device. Hopefully it's an Apple one. Give us a 5-star rating. Give us a review. And we'll read it out. We'll pop it up on the Fergo on the Freak podcast website as well. Also, follow us on Twitter at Fergo Freak Pod. We're on Instagram, Fergo Freak Pod. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Go over there, subscribe, like all the videos. Freaky, they can send us an email.
They can send an email if they type into their email thing, podcast@leaguefreak.com.
There you go. And you can go in there. You can send us questions. You can send us ideas for future episodes. You can send us nudes. You can send us photos. You can send us
videos, audio files.
Yep. Take all of those.
Yeah.
GIFs.
JPEGs.
Yes.
PNGs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, not countries, but, the picture files.
No, they can send PNG.
Okay.
Be a big file.
Yeah. How would you get that? You have to put it in a zip, that one.
Yeah, I'd have to. What's WinZip? I'd have to use WinZip.
Yeah.
Extract that.
That's right.
Oh, that reminds me. Can you just send me the database for Rugby League Project? That'd be great.
Yeah, no worries. Did you want it on an Excel?
If you could send it like as an animated GIF instead, that would be good. Like, right. I know you can sort that out. Just not Photoshop, but paint it.
Just paint it.
Yeah.
I'll get onto my people to organise that for you.
Excellent.
Yeah, that'll be a big file. That file's probably bigger than PNG.
I'm sure it's probably a couple of meg.
Yeah, a couple of terabytes. Anyways, yeah. Also, get on there to our Patreons. We've got Patreon at patreon.com/leaguefreak and patreon.com/rlproject. Get out there and give us both a few bob each.
Yeah. We need to do a crossover where the people that do both of them, or like we'll work something out where we do like an episode just for them, live one.
Absolutely.
That would be cool fun. I was thinking about that the other day.
We might get them on if they want to come on.
Hey, yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
There you go.
Nice.
You want to get on the podcast, you got to donate to both of us.
Yeah, we'll get you on.
We've already had one of those people on.
We've had a bunch of them on, actually.
I haven't been on. Oh, no, that's all right. I don't donate to my one.
I'm so confused now. Yeah. Hey, by the way, we're coming up towards our 200th episode. We've still got a little bit of time, probably 2 or 3 days from now. But we want some suggestions of what we should do for 200.
Yeah, because you came up with so many great ideas for our 100th one, i.e. you did nothing. So, redemption for you people.
200. Let's make it big.
Yeah.
It's like the bicentenary.
Yeah, but without those shitty coins.
I was just... Fucking mate. Come on. Oh, shit. We should do something. We'll have to work something out. That's why we want to use suggestions. Email them, tweet them, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Get in touch with us. Tell us what we should do.
Mm-hmm.
We'll read out the ideas on a previous episode to the 200.
Yep.
We might even run a poll on Twitter just the hell of it, just to make you feel like you're going to be considered.
Yeah.
Then we'll probably just ignore it.
We don't ignore suggestions. That's a terrible thing to say.
No, we won't ignore it. We'll definitely put it into action.
Yeah, we'll do
That'll be something different this time around.
Yeah. What did we do for our 100th? I can't remember.
No idea.
Yeah.
You know what? It's not like people actually want this episode to end at the moment, so let me just find out what we did for our 100th episode.
I feel like we did something, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I don't remember doing anything special. Let's see.
Podcast 68, 99. I think we just did a normal episode.
Did we?
Yeah. We talked about the 2020 NRL draw, Sonny Bill Williams offer, and Sam Burgess retiring.
Did too.
What about that?
Someone should listen to that episode.
Didn't we have an episode where it was around 100 where we did something special?
We had Greeno from the starting block join us on episode 102. And this for our longest ever episode.
Oh, you know what it was? Yeah, you know what it was. And I think we thought that was going to be 100.
Yeah, we had it lined up.
Yeah, and then some shit happened and it ended up being 102. Because the only other ones we've done that was special, I think we did one for our 21st, which was very special. Everyone remembers that one. And then episode 69 was the other one.
Oh, yeah, that was a little bit lewd.
Yeah, we called that the filthiest episode ever. So we could probably beat that.
Episode 150, we said Todd Greenberg is doing a great job.
How many episodes after that did we put out?
That aged well.
Yeah. And the episode after that was called, I'd saved it as Idiots Doing Dumb Things. I'm trying to find out. Oh, so it was episode...
I was going to say 6 episodes after 150, we did the Todd Greenberg stands down.
Yeah, 156 episode, he stands down. It was brilliant. So please give us an example of what we should do for episode 200, because you don't want more of that shit, do you?
We're not afraid to be hypocrites if we need to be.
Yeah.
If it entertains you, then we will do it.
Yeah, I agree.
There you go. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And do everything I told you to do. That's good. There'll be a test at the end. We'll catch you later.